In this video I will go through the whole process of creating the bed cover, including assigning the texture, the duvet texture to it, adding in a mattress and placing a bed sheet on that mattress. So first of all we're going to add in the mattress, so Shift A to add in a simple cube, and then I would suggest going to the Scene tab and under Units choose Metric. So now we have the option to define how many meters the dimensions are, meaning if I just have a look at my bed, the width is about 1.4 meters, the length is about 2.3, and I think the height is about 30 centimeters, I guess. So maybe 30 is a bit too much. Let's go with 25. Then you will add in a subdivision surface modifier, so Control 2, and now we need to add in some loop cuts to sharpen those edges. I'll just add 2 loop cuts in here, then scale them on the Y axis, but not too far because we don't want to have those corners being too sharp. Then we have a look from the top and add in 2 more loop cuts from the top and scale them in the X direction. And maybe we just add in 1 loop cut. We could add in 2. That doesn't look too bad. I don't know, you can choose what you want to go for, but 1 looks fine as well. I think I'll just go with 2 anyway. So this is our mattress, or the basic shape of our mattress. I'm gonna make it smooth under shading smooth and then I'll add in a collision so later on we can make the bed cover fall onto our mattress. The next step is to add in a surface, and under surface, NURB surface, we can add in a surface that is controlled by control points. And the main difference in comparison to real vertices is that when you change control points, you change the influence of that control point according to the vertices of the actual geometry. So the first step would be to bring them all on the same level. So we select all of the I forgot to turn on display tools, sorry. Display keys. We select all of those control points, scale them in Z, and press 0. So we bring them all on the same level. And then I'll just add in the solidify modifier so we can see a bit of the thickness, especially if we are in orthographic mode and have a look from the side. We won't see what we do when we extrude them in here, and because it has no thickness to it, but I'm just adding the solidify modifier as an assistance tool for me. So let me redo that. And the thing is, if you press E, you will recognize that at that moment when you extrude control points, the surface will snap to the last control point. So when I press E in here, you see that the surface will go in the direction of the last control point. This control point has now way more influence, and it's a different way of modeling. If we want to have this round shape, we basically need a square of vertices, of control points, I mean. So let me extrude them once more, and then once again. So this would be the basic shape. I just see that I modeled it from the wrong direction, but it's no big deal because we're just gonna rotate around the Z-axis in 90 degrees, and then I'm just gonna bring that down. And I'm also, because I find this kind of annoying, I want to bring this whole control point, the pivot point, towards the center. So Control Shift Alt C and bring that origin to geometry. Then we see we might want to scale that in X right now. So we go into wireframe mode and scale it in the X direction until we get squares or about squares in here, and they're no longer rectangles. And also in wireframe mode, it has the advantage that you can define the distance more precisely, the distance to the bottom part and to the sides. So now you have 2 squares on the bottom part and 2 squares on the side part, and that should be good. I mean, we can scale that whole object now and make the distance 3 in every direction, but that's just depending on how far you want the blanket to go down and near the ground. So I think I'm just still gonna go with 2. I can scale that later on. Just want to make sure, like I said, this distance is important. This should be equal to this. So let's have a look at our blanket. I think it looks quite good yet. And I'm gonna deactivate the solidify modifier because we're gonna add that in later. The reason I'm doing this is when I convert it right now, or let's first of all duplicate it and move it to the last layer, so we save every change that we make, and then Alt-C, convert it to a mesh. We now have a mesh consisting of vertices and edges and faces again. Then we want to add in the cloth modifier, and the reason I didn't add in the solidify modifier, or I didn't apply the solidify modifier when we still have the curve, is that now the cloth modifier only has to work on this low amount of geometry. It's less geometry, and we can add in the solidify later on. This is easier to calculate for Blender right now because it only has to calculate pretty much this surface that has no thickness. So usually you won't have any, or you won't have these presets that I created. So I think I'm just gonna explain you the most important changes that I did. So first of all, you need to check self-collision. Otherwise, when you run the animation, the object will collapse, or this part at the top will fall into the part at the bottom, and it will interfere with that. This isn't what we want, so we check self-collision. And also you might want to change the distance. The distance meaning what is the minimum distance between a vertex on the bottom part that tries to interfere with the vertex on the top part, tries to interfere with the vertex on the bottom part. So pretty much every vertex that is about to interfere or trying to get too close together is having a look at this distance and is kept away from every vertex that's starting to get closer. You will see what that does when you run the animation. But in order to do that, we need to add in a timeline. So I'm just gonna drag this down and choose timeline in here, and maybe I'm changing that to 100 so we don't have to wait 250 frames. And let's just run the animation and have a look at how our blanket looks. And this isn't too bad yet. Still, you see that this is the distance of those 0.75. It's equal to the distance you see in here. So depending on the thickness of your cover, you might want to alter that value. So let's now add in the solidify modifier so we have a better look, and choose a thickness that fits or that serves our needs. And we see, I think it's way too much, those 0.75. So I'm gonna lower this value and let the animation run once more. I think you should even see it in real time when you lower that value. I think 0.5 is looking even better. Now you see it's right. It's laying right onto it. And you also recognize that it starts to fall down or slide down from the mattress, and you can prevent that by bumping up this friction value. So I choose, let's say we want to try 25, and then let the animation run once more, and you see it doesn't slide down anymore. Also, we want to add in another subdivision surface modifier. So let me make them smaller and add in a subdivision surface modifier, and it doesn't look too bad yet. Again, I went down as far as I could with the self collision, and you still see that there's a gap in here. So these are changes you want to make using the sculpting mode when you finished with this modifier. So let us run the animation once more. This is giving us the basic shape. If you want to have more wrinkles in there, you might bring in the subdivision surface modifier before the cloth modifier. So the cloth modifier then works on the subdivided mesh. And I'm just gonna go with view of 1 and have a look. And you see it changes the mesh, but it doesn't look really good. So again, I think I'm gonna bring it in afterwards, and Shift D, duplicate that object, bring it on the last layer, so any changes I make in here are saved. And then I think I'm just quickly gonna subdivide it using this tool and use the subsurf modifier to make this roundness after the cloth modifier is done with altering the geometry. The whole part is a bit tricky, but you see right now that there are more wrinkles, and the bed is starting to fold around the mattress even better. And what else can we do? You see, sometimes there's a problem because the force of the gravity is too high, so it bends our bed cover too much. It stretches it, and sometimes we don't want to have that. And for that reason, I'll just lower the gravity to 0.3. And also I want to have more wrinkles actually. So this bending gives us more wrinkles. If you have a look at the tooltip, higher, less smaller, but more big wrinkles. So this bending somehow influences the wrinkles, and this overall stiffness usually also alters this the wrinkles. So we might want to set these down to, let's go with 10 and 2.3 in here, and let the animation run once more. And then I think I would go with like 1 frame of, maybe with that frame. Again, it's up to you to choose which frame you want to have and how you want this bed cover to look. You can wait a bit until you have the right form. But yeah, this is the way I created the bed cover. And let's just say we stick with that, or we go with that bed cover. So I'll just convert it to a mesh, or maybe I convert it without having the subsurf modifier applied to it. So now I applied it, and then I again add in the subsurf modifier. No, sorry, what we're gonna do is add in a multi-resolution modifier, and then simply subdivide it 2 times, because right now I'm not really happy with the thickness of at the edges. So we go into sculpting mode. We get the message that it's not uniform scale, so back to object mode and apply the scale first. Then again we can work in the sculpt mode, and we can take either the crease pencil or the smoothing pencil to get this edge even sharper. But another tool that I found was really helpful, or another method I would say, is you can go into edit mode and then you can select a certain area, like a few faces for example, press H to hide them. If you go back to sculpting mode, you won't influence them. So let me show that, let me demonstrate that in order. Let's just make another loop cut going through here that divides the bottom and the top part, and make that loop cut be the seam. Yeah, maybe. This is also a trick, I just figured it out. You can press Alt S to make the whole loop cut that we just added in go further away from the structure, to have like a sharper edge, a sharper corner in here. That works as well. But let us just select, for example, all the faces on the top, hide them, and then we go into sculpt mode, and to see that the area that you hid and work on that, you need to deactivate the multi-res modifier though. So if you press that I now, you see that you can only work on the area that is not hidden in edit mode. So once you unhide that, again pressing Alt H, you will also be able to alter that in the sculpting mode. But as we see down here, there is a little bit interference with some vertices, so the cloth modifier didn't work there that good. So we can get rid of that, hiding the surface, for example, so the top surface. Then go back into sculpting mode, and then holding down Shift, we can smooth out this area. And this will help us to get rid of those artifacts or of those interferences. Also what you see is that because we added in the solidify modifier, and the whole surface went into the mattress. So let's go into edit mode again, Alt H to unhide the whole structure and bring it up a bit further. Maybe until we reach the point where there's no interference anymore. Pretty much like that. It's not that important because we don't see it anyway, and we added in the solidify modifier to give it some thickness, but I think this works pretty good. Also, we want to maybe smooth out this part of our blanket a bit further. So now that we are nearly finished with the bed cover, I wanna show you how to add in the texture. So first of all, we need to UV unwrap that. So I press U and unwrap. Then let's have a look at the UV image editor. And that doesn't look too bad. I mean, we could again use our grid tool under MISC. We can use our grid tool to make those areas grids. I think I just do that. And this one as well. And then we add in a new texture. So let's say we want to go with one of those designs you provided. Corners. I'll just go with the Indian one again, and I have a small version of that so it loads in quicker. Right now there is still no material on our texture, on our bed cover, so we need to go into the materials tab, add in a new material. Oh, sorry, you wanted me to use the duvet cover, so where is it? Reverse duvet. I'll just go with this reverse duvet. I don't know if this is the texture you meant, but let's just go with that one. And then add in the texture. So under texture, image texture, and plug that into the color of the diffuse BSDF. Then we choose the reverse duvet and go into textured mode to have a look at how big this texture has to be scaled. So I'll just bring that in here, that in the center, and instead of changing the size of the UV, I mean, I can change it about to that size, but I'm going to use the texture mapping node. Go with maybe 10 times 10, and we can only see that when we choose material in here. So now you see the actual size of the image texture that is being applied onto our bed cover. If you want to have a two-sided material, we want to add in another material, and again choose the texture, image texture. Which one we're going to take? Let's say we're going to go with the border, and I'm just going to grab this alpha 01. Let's go with this one, and this will be the material assigned to the top. So Champlain or Champlain. So we need to go into edit mode, then L to select all the linked faces, to select the top part. We click on assign, and now you see that the top part now has this image texture attached to it. So the next step is that we need to arrange the UVs so it fits, and this is the most difficult part, as we figured out quite a lot, or quite often, that this part isn't too easy. So I'm just gonna quickly try to adjust that, and as you see in here, these areas, let me make that bigger, these areas are folded, so they're probably about here, about the top area, and which means we need to rotate the whole UV on 180 degrees, because this is now the top area up here somewhere. So rotate 180. That worked, and then we need to only scale it a bit. So I think that doesn't look too bad. Yeah, maybe move it some more. I mean, you know that these adjustments take a bit, but yeah, that looks pretty okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it to the bed cover. I will show you some more advanced options of how to set up the material. So because we have an alpha texture, we can use that alpha channel again to define which area will be our diffuse color or the main color, and which will have the texture, the design applied to it. For that, we take color mix RGB as we took before. So the color input goes into color 1, and the alpha is the trigger of whether to use color 2 or color 1. So as we see right now, it must be the other way around, because right now you see it's not the black part that's changed to white, it's the design that changed to white. So I'll just plug in the color in here, and that worked. Let's have a look at the image. Yep, that looks pretty good. And then, because a cover or a fabric is not only made of diffuse, it's also made of the velvet shader, and we add those two together. So we add in under shader velvet, and if you have those node wrangler tools, this node wrangler add-on, you can simply press Alt and right click to create a mixed node, and or otherwise you go into Shift A, shader, mix shader. So we mix those two together and put them in here, and you will see that it gets these areas, or you see these areas where light is being reflected more. This is according to the velvet, and it also became a bit darker. If you want to make that brighter in general, then instead of using the mix shader, you can use the add shader. So now to the diffuse color, the velvet color is being added, and this generates a lighter material, or a wider material, because we choose that white in here. Also, you see that it's set to 0.5, the color of the white, so you have some thing to play with, or you can go further up with the whiteness of this color. But then you also see that depending on your light sources, you might not be able to see the color of the design. So that's a bit tricky, and you might, like, there is no general rule for that. You just need to figure out which value fits your needs or what works best for you. And if you want to have some more glossy reflections, usually every material has a bit of glossiness attached to it, then you add in a shader, glossy, and mix it with the output of the add shader. So right now we have the diffuse color, and we added the velvet. We have a look at those different color passes. You see this is the diffuse pass. It has no glance effects in here, but the velvet shader looks like this. So everything that is white is now brightening up, or in the area of this image, everything around here will be brighter, like these areas. And you pretty much add these together and mix them with the glossy shader, and this would generate a material like that. But we don't want to add so much, or we don't want to mix in so much glossiness, so I'll just go with 0.05, I guess. And this roughness value controls the roughness of the reflection. So the higher you go, the more diffuse is the roughness. Okay, that's pretty much it about the materials. You might want to do the same stuff in here. So also again add in the velvet shader, then add those two together, and adjust your lighting. So the next part we want to speak about is adding in the bed sheet. So let me hide or bring that bed cover on the second layer and add in a simple plane. But before, I will bring the cursor to where the mattress is. So I'll add in the plane right at the position of the mattress, scale it up, and then I'll just, I think it's already good. Again, we're gonna go into wireframe mode and bring it somewhere where we want it. I mean, I just want to bring an account that you're not gonna see anything of the bed sheet that is below the blanket, or that is below the bed cover. So we might only need this part, this area in here, and we can actually delete the rest of the bed sheet that can be ignored because we don't see it anyway. Then I'll just go into here and add in some loop cuts. And I'll try to add in as much as until I get squares again, and then I can use a simple subdivision. So W and under specials add subdivide, maybe 2 more times. Yeah, that looks good. And then I'll again choose the class modifier. I think you can go with the default options. Let's open up that timeline again. And that's pretty much it. Maybe we go with the higher level of subdivision and bring that subsurf modifier up before the class modifier so we can get more wrinkles. And activate smooth. Where is it? Here. Yeah, now depending on how much wrinkles you want and how you want this bed cover to look, you might want to adjust again the class modifier settings, but I'm just going to go with this one. Convert to a mesh, which will apply the subsurf modifier and the class modifier, and then look from the front. I'll bring that down and I'll scale that in, and maybe bring those two further in the X direction, but with the proportional editing activated. So again, first go into wireframe mode so you can select through the vertices. So you select everything that is on the side and activate with proportional editing, maybe make that linear, then scale it in the X direction, and that will bring the bed sheet further towards the mattress, and it will look like it's directly laying on the mattress. It's a bit tricky. You might want to make minor adjustments using the sculpting tools again. And also you want to give it a thickness, but just a really small one. That's pretty much up to you. If you give it a thickness or not. I think I didn't give it a thickness. And it looked pretty good that way. Yeah, you can play around with these settings, but that's it to this tutorial. Also, yeah, what you could do, the last change you might want to do is try to get rid of these vertices down here, everything that is below the mattress. So to activate proportional editing, let us select through. I'll just quickly select these ones, delete them, and then bring those guys further in, and it looks a bit more like they were squeezed or pushed inside, like that. Make them wrap around. Yeah, but that's pretty much it, and I hope this helps you. If there's any questions, we can Skype about that.